Okay, guys, so we're looking at a different kind of angle. Yesterday, we looked at a central angle because remember that goes to the center of the circle. So, again, that's called a central angle. And if you had a certain size, right, if that was maybe 80 degrees right there, that central angle, the measure of the arc is actually 80 degrees as well. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. They're exactly the same. So, an inscribed angle, as you can see, it does not go to the center anymore. Okay, that pink angle would go to the central angle. Now we've got an angle coming all the way to the back of the circle. It's hitting at three different parts of the circle. So specifically, that inscribed angle is has its vertex on the circle, and the measure of an inscribed angle is going to be how much of the arc do you think? Maybe if you look at it for a second, if this was maybe if we just use 80 again. If I use 80 degrees right there, we know that the central angle, maybe 80 isn't a good number. Maybe if we use like 100. So if the central angle is 100, just by looking at it, does the blue angle at the back look bigger or smaller than 100? Because they go through the same points. They share that same arc, right? So do you think it's bigger than 100, smaller than 100? Hopefully you're seeing that it's smaller than 100 and it's actually perfectly half. Okay, so the measurement of an inscribed angle is half of that arc that it intercepts. Okay, so if this is 100, it cuts it in half perfectly to make 50. So if you need like a specific formula, that measure of angle B is equal to half of that arc AC. Again, trying to get some exposure to just the notation of geometry here. If we look at an example, we literally are either cutting things in half or you double it. That's what we're trying to do today. So that 116, maybe if you look at the central angle, okay, the central angle is exactly 116. And does that inscribed angle at the back look bigger or smaller? Hopefully you're saying, okay, it looks smaller. The question mark looks smaller than 116. How much smaller? It's perfectly half of it. So you're going to do 116 divided by 2. Okay. And that gives you a measure of 58 degrees. Again, you're always cutting it in half if you're given the arc. So now we're given this inscribed angle there. Again, if you want to draw in the central angle, maybe better than I am. Notice that is bigger than 57. Bigger than 57. How much bigger? It's perfectly double it. So we would say it's 114 degrees for the central angle and the arc that it intercepts. So that measure of arc DE is going to be 114 degrees. Okay. That's what we're looking at. Now, when it gets a little bit crazier, you kind of got to get a little bit creative depending on what the question is asking. So it's specifically asking for the measure of angle T, which we're going to call this back there. And again, there's this huge temptation to just plop a 48 in there based on what we did yesterday. But remember, that's only true for the central angles. And you actually don't have a central angle drawn in the picture. So make sure you're cutting the stuff in half. So if you've got a 48 there, you got to cut it in half to get a 24 right there for that inscribed angle. So 24 degrees is that inscribed angle. And then if you're looking for the arc QT out here, all you got to do is double that 50. Again, the temptation is just to plop 50 right out there, but you got to make sure that you double it to get 100 degrees. Hopefully that's making some sense. Remember, you will get some more practice with maybe adding and subtracting. If you look at the pink there and the purple down there, a helpful thing to remember is that all four of those colors together, the blue, the pink, red, and purple together, make 360 all together.